everyone. Dr. Annette West, Publishing Pusher here. Thanks for joining me in the Jet Name, Publishing, Talking All Things Books. Yes, the operative words, all things. I'm excited you're here. You listen in, share your thoughts. You don't have to be live on the screen to be able to talk. And I want you to know, your success is my business. I'm here to assist you, support, empower, inspire, as we pull out those thoughts to get these books accomplished. Thanks again for joining me. Hey, everybody. Dr. Annette, Jetney Publishing. I am the publishing pusher. Just thinking I'm trying to push some people right now to get on task with their projects. And that's what we have to do. I said, I hope my clients don't think I'm being worrisome, but we need to get this done. We don't invest and not complete it. So I get to have to push, and I really live up to my name, the publishing pusher. Well, there are some really, really great things happening in our publishing world with the people that I am connected to. This is a Talking All Things Books. We do Q&A. We talk about any and everything relative to books, publishing, you name it. We talk about those things on this show. You can also, if you listen in and you hear something and you're trying to find it again, reach out to me. All the videos may not be posted, but I do have them all labeled. But there is still a large group of videos on the Publishing Pusher YouTube channel that you can go to for the Talking All Things books. We have a plethora of topics that we have talked about. And if you are thinking about writing, or maybe you're in that process and you're about ready to go to send your content to the editor, we want to encourage you to be edit ready. There is a video on the channel, on the YouTube channel, called Edit Ready, Talking All Things Books, Edit Ready. And we have Written Word Publishing, and Miss Anna Roseborough shared quite a bit of insight on how to be edit ready. So the topic today is not edit ready. However, since somebody was asking me what was their next step, go check out the video. If you have other questions, you don't have to ask me, because I'm not the editor. I'm not the professional editor. I don't pretend to be, but Anna Roseborough and Melvise at Written Word Publishing, they are. So they would be more than happy to give you some insight and to even work with you on editing your book projects. Miss Anna, Melvise, either one of you want to say anything to that before we mosey on? Yes.
Well, so I remember that day that we recorded that video. Yes, I second your motion. Go watch it. Go watch it, and most of your questions will be answered there. And then if you still have more questions, you can contact Miss Anna or Melvise. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to add to that edit ready depends on where you are in the process. Some writers are very early in the process and they want to know if they're off to the right start. That's one kind of editing. On the other hand, what if you think you're finished and you're ready to send it to a publisher, there are expectations of what will already have been accomplished. And so I think by listening to the podcast that Dr. West has had on preparing to be read, edit ready, when in the process, and what kind of editing feedback you need. They are different. The publishing process has multiple steps, and many of them are repeated depending on what you're trying to do. So stay tuned, and thank you, Dr. West, for giving us this opportunity to share it.
Thank you. Thank
Yes,
you.
I just want to second that. Yeah, developmental editing. So that's the stage of editing that Anna was referring to. That's when you have written your book, but you need someone to look at it to let you know if it's flowing properly, if there are gaps, if what you need to do more in the book to develop it into a final project. So yeah, developmental editing, that is what you don't need to be edit ready, quote unquote, for that part. That yeah.
And that first step I can help you with. But when it's time for the editing, you ready for the professional editor to put their hands on it? I'm going to refer you or I'm going to contract them in. And that just it helps me stay in my lane. You know when you're driving, it might be 3 lanes going in the same direction, but if you cut somebody's lane, you might create an accident or something like that. So we want to be real careful that we stay in our own lanes. Yes. I want to say also good morning to Angela Simmons. Trying to light a fire under her so we can get her book moving. I have Leona Jacobs on here. We are working on her book. Actually, I have an editor that's working on her book right now because it's edit ready. And I am just excited. Yeah, about what we're doing in the publishing world. I don't want to say I'm a small publishing company. I am the publishing company that God wants me to be. And my goal is really to serve only about 3 or 4 clients every year. It doesn't typically work that way, but that was my goal. Like, Lord, I just want to do about 3 books every year and whatever I'm working on. And one year I had 12 books, and I was like, how in the world did this happen? But when we are faithful over the little, God will, because of who He is, He's going to increase what He's already given to you. So thank you, Angela. Thank you, Leona, for working with Jetnay Publishing. I appreciate it. And thank you, Miss Anna. And thank you, Melvise from Written Word Publishing, for being editors that I can call on. Yay! Miss Anna. Now, we always talk about something going on in our world. I know, without a shadow of a doubt, that there is something going on in Miss Anna's world. Talk to us, Miss Anna.
One of the things that we as editors and writers, and mine as an educator, is to explore different genres so that we can be better coaches for those who are doing it. And one of the things that I've been exploring this year has been transmigrating from one genre to the other. In this, how do you write a movie script for a novel that you have written? And because I have been attending various platforms that Dr. West has offered us, I met with Jerry Royce, who suggested I have a movie made of the book series. So I contracted with Urban Vision Works, an independent movie producer, and we got the trailer of that movie this week. And it's been interesting to see what our book looks like in a movie. And what do we do next? I'm not sure of what I'm going to do next, other than ask each of you to look at the preview of the trailer and share it with those that you know. Because one of the reasons for publishing the book is to get on the table the conversations regarding sexuality, Christianity, the Bible, the family. And that's one of the things that this particular book series and movie does. And Dr. West has consented to show that trailer sometime during our time together. But let's hear from the other people before I use up any more time. But when you try new genres, be prepared to know you're going to have to learn very different aspects of writing, promoting, and publication.
Thank you, Miss Anna. Melvis, anything going on in your publishing world that you want to share?
Yes, I'm just busy and overbooked over here, and two more children's books. I feel like I'm turning into a children's book expert over here at Written Word.
Yay. Hey, the more you do it, yes, you should become an expert. Yes.
Yes, yes, yes. So if anybody wants to get their children's book out there, I can definitely help you with that. I know all the ins and outs of the children's book publishing now.
Love it. Thank you. Angela, how you doing? Leona, how you doing? You don't have to come on the screen. I'm just saying hello to both of you. Um, I'm going to play Miss Anna's clip. Let's see if I can share my screen.
As she's pulling it up, let me introduce it. The story is about a family who is shocked by a reveal, and that's what this shows.
I want to move upstairs.
Why ever would you want to move upstairs with Claude? For 18 years. For 18 years I've been trapped.
Do you love this man?
I don't even know at this point. I really don't even know.
Can you love him again?
I don't know if it was real the first time. A couple? You and I are a couple. We got married in the church, Lou.
You knew if anybody is responsible in this situation, it has to have been you.
And now I feel like I'm stuck. I got to stay in this?
No, you don't have to say anything. We always have choice. We also always have the option to make the wrong choice.
Claude, what are you doing here?
Mandela, I need your help.
You talk about God loving everybody, but maybe I'm not worthy of God's love. I mean, after everything I've done.
Louis, this is coming at me too fast. What about our kids?
Is an apology enough? And it may not be enough.
And what's this I'm hearing through the grapevine anyway?
Girl, that's a whole different story. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Lily, I'm bisexual.
Well, Louis, are you coming upstairs tonight? We don't have to decide right away. We can live upstairs and still be a family.
What a Miss Anna, I know you got something to say.
I'd rather hear from those who are here.
Well, I would say it. I can't even imagine the marvelous feeling that you felt when you saw your words that were on paper on video. That had to be like super awesome. Congratulations. That's an excellent trailer too. I can't wait to see the movie.
Yes, I thoroughly enjoyed it. And Leona said, what a great intro. And I felt like it gave just enough to draw you in.
And for those of you who are listening, Dr. West was one of the contributing authors. When the book came to me, I asked the Lord how I was supposed to tell this story when I didn't know much about it. And he said, get some help. And so I put out a call, and Dr. West was one of the 18 people who responded. And we ended up using work from about 15 other contributors to tell the story in an authentic way, but also in an authoritative way that those who were not Christians would recognize that what we were telling was true. And so that's been the challenge, how to tell the truth in a way that people are willing to listen and will be challenged to consider the choices that we make when we learn about something that is different than what we thought, that is new to us. And for many people, when we learn about it in our own families. And once I put the trailer up, I've been getting questions. And again, that's the whole purpose of it. Let's talk about this and find out, how are we as sons and daughters of the Most High God supposed to choose? And that's the whole thing. We have choices. And so the book offers choices that the husband, the wife, the lover, the children, and the pastor. The video doesn't show the pastor struggling with how he's going to handle this, but the books do.
Well, it is a very significant topic. It is a topic that I'm sure is in every family, even if it's not, if even if it's hidden, not talked about, or only people talk about it amongst themselves, and it's not addressed. But I think you did a really great job pulling the pieces together, telling a story that would give the reader, that would allow the reader to use their mind to paint a picture as they went through with it. So that's what I will say. So we've had some great topics recently, and sometimes we will reiterate topics based on, people may not get into our space on Thursday, but they'll send me a question or a comment or something. So we've talked about pre-order sales. We've talked about pre-launch, the launch, post-launch. And so I had another question about the pre-order strategy. Because if we don't have a strategy, we're going to have books with no sales. And unless you're just writing your memoir that you wanted your family to have a copy of, then we want our content in the hands of other people. I am finishing up my first short story, and I used written word publishing because I thought it was edit ready. And so I used written word publishing to dig through it for me. And I had to go back to the table, the drawing board, as we say, and fix a few things. Not many, thank the Lord, but there are still a few little things and some other information. So I am also in the pre-order stage of, what do I want to do, and how should I move forward with this new book. And I believe that before I offer it as the book, I believe I'm going to offer it as the ebook. So I'm going to strategize with the ebook and then come later with the book. What are your thoughts? And hey, Frederick, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so it's an awesome story. A great, 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 heartwarming story. And I know that what do they call them? Novellas. So novellas are like short stories, are real popular on Amazon. So yeah, you might want to go that route and put it out as the. I mean, there's nothing wrong with putting it out as the releasing it as the print and the ebook simultaneously. That way, if people want one or the other, they have the option. But Yeah, promoting it as a novella on Amazon, that'll probably be a good route for you to take.
For
And
purposes,
forgive
for,
me for saying promote something on Amazon. Y'all know how I feel about Amazon, but I gotta tell you the truth today.
will you clarify for us the difference between a short story and a novella?
So really the short story is typically books that are less than 28, about 28, 30,000. A novella typically starts around 30,000 words. A novel is normally about 60,000 or more words. So therein. So actually, my next book is a novella, but my first book is actually a short story because it is short of 10,000 words. So it did not even, my goal was not word count when I wrote the short story. Now with the novella, even though I'm writing a story, I have to focus on word count. But for a short story, I don't have to focus on word count because a short story can be anywhere to about 25,000 words if I want it. So it just kind of depends on how we want to work it. I can actually do a lot of 10,000 short stories, okay, as compared to a 30,000 word novella. So my goal really may wind up backtracking, maybe more short stories, even though I am going to challenge myself to get this novella completed.
Okay, so if you plan on doing more short stories, you might just want to do a book of short stories where there's more than one story in the book.
That is a good possibility.
Yeah.
Because technically, if you think about it, we have a theme, and we'll be like, okay, this is an anthology, right? And we have an anthology, and we're writing content that's 1,500 to 2,000 words. Those are really short stories. Those could really be considered as short stories. I won't say it's a devotion because a devotion is typically 500 words or less. So, understanding word count for the different things that we are doing, but I probably have quite a bit of pieces that I could use, and maybe my third step after I do the novella, because remember, I'm challenging myself this year. So the short story is a challenge for me. The novella is a challenge for me. And once I've done it, I don't have to do it again. But I do like the idea of creating a book of short stories. I do like that, yes.
And generally, just for terminology, generally, anthology means multiple different authors.
Authors.
Whereas what Dr. Uh, Melvise was talking about, where an author will publish a collection of their own, and that's a different terminology. But generally, anthology means you're pulling together the work of multiple, something like what you've offered for the fall with the Beatitudes. That would be an anthology on a particular topic, but
Yes.
written by multiple authors.
Yes. So if anybody is wanting to be a part of prayerfully our next anthology, the topic is Kingdom Promises. Kingdom Promises. And we will be digging through the Beatitudes. Okay, so Frederick, what is fan fiction? Are you able to speak?
Yeah. So fan fiction is kind of like going into an established universe and creating a fictional story out of it. So like say for instance, um I'm gonna use it as an example. So say for instance, if I wanted to go into like I'm trying to figure out which universe I would like to go in. That I'm particularly interested in going to. Well, I'll just use an example. A rough example, maybe like if someone watches like the BET series like Sisters. Someone wants to create something that's outside of that universe. It's kind of like it's not based in the universe, but it uses established canon in the universe to create a like a story that's outside of it.
So the inspiration would be that particular show, even though the content is not the show, but that's the inspiration for the fan fiction.
That's right. That's correct.
Okay.
So you're using established canon in the universe, but you're creating what's considered a standalone story.
Okay.
So it does so from for most people who have create fan fiction, it either can have continuity in the universe or it doesn't have to have continuity in the universe. In most cases, fan fiction doesn't have continuity in that universe.
Okay. That's interesting. I'll have to look, let me write that down and go and read up on that. Okay. Um, I don't even think I'd heard that term before.
There's a lot of people that's in that particular. There's a lot of people I've talked to in that particular that write in that particular genre, and I'm gonna say this, and it's gonna sound a little bit off base. Me being a huge video game and anime person, I'm considering writing something in a universe that I like that I want to write about. I mean, I've done a couple of podcasts as it talks about it, but like certain universes that I've talked about the lore and the canon of it. So now I want to dive a little deeper into it and say, okay, can I write something that's standalone and can sit and doesn't have to sit in the continuity of that universe, but it can stand on its own. So for me, that's my challenge. One, I'm not to walk away from the novellas or the poetry books that I've done, but I want to challenge myself to write something that's a lot more character driven, that has a little bit more depth, and I can kind of explore my possibility with developing relatable characters.
I like that. Go ahead, Miss Anna.
And so you're saying that fan fiction takes characters that are already known and writing another episode or story or adventure, but using characters that already exist.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
You can
All
either
right.
well, in some cases, some cases, and some of the fan fiction that I've read, actually they use brand new characters in the same
Mm-hmm.
universe.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay.
Uh, that's an idea that I was thinking of for the Dr. West's anthology for the fall, of doing another scene of the characters from the Robinson story, where they are faced with the Beatitudes. Can they put them into practice? So now I have a term for what I'm thinking of what I'm going to do. I'm going to be write fan fiction, Dr. West. Thank you, Frederick.
You're welcome. You're
That was
welcome.
good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Angela, you had a comment? Did you raise your hand? Well, you did raise your hand, but did you have a comment? And I see that I do see that Written Word Publishing actually posted. Thank you so much, Mel V's. Flash fiction, short stories, novelettes, novellas, and then of course, then over 40,000 would be the novels. Okay, thank you, Miss. Thank you, appreciate that. Go ahead, Angela.
I was gonna just ask a question actually to make sure I'm tracking with the fan fiction terminology. So fan meaning you're a fan of whatever that particular universe is. And case in point, you use the TV series Sisters or whatever from BET. So I'm a fan of Sisters from BET, and so as was mentioned before, so out of inspiration from that, I create a story based on my inspiration that I got as a fan of that particular series. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You kind
Okay.
of you can take either established characters or you can create new characters and have them interact with established characters. Basically, you're taking the established canon in that series, you're using that to create your own story, create your own story. In most
Okay.
cases, fan fiction stories are standalone, so they don't necessarily roll within the established continuity of that particular universe.
Okay. I get it. Thank you for the clarification.
That's good. That's real good. Thank you. Thank you, Frederick. Appreciate that. How's Trailblazer Radio going?
I'm I'm doing more audio podcasts now instead of the
Okay.
video stuff. Um, and actually, I'm taking I won't say a small step away from talking with authors. I still do that. However, now I'm just kind of diving into like pop culture universes. Actually, before I came on, I just finished up writing a script for um the Boondocks. So I'm gonna do like a little like a 2-part audio podcast about the Boondocks. You know, cultural impact, creation, memorable episodes, how it impacts us as as Black Americans, as Black people, and things of that nature. So I'm moving toward more like pop culture icons and things of that nature, and trying to look at cultural impact of those icons. So I'm starting with the Boondocks to be more precise.
Okay. Sounds good. Melvise?
Yes, I just have a question about the fan fiction. So, if you're basing your story off a character that you didn't create, how does copyright infringement play on that? Like, say you couldn't just like write a story about like if you're a Batman fan or something like that, right? Like, so would it have to be a character that you already created? Or
It,
do you create another character similar to a character that someone else created and just give it a different name? Like, how does that work?
it doesn't have to be a character that you can create. You can actually use a character of something that's a character that's already in the established canon. As far as copyright things are concerned, in most cases that I've read fan fiction, most people put a disclaimer that this is a work of fiction, and it's not within the established continuity of that universe. Um, like there's one person that I follow pretty heavy, and she writes um a lot of fan fiction about Sonic the Hedgehog. So she prefaces it by saying that this is a work of fiction. This is not within the established continuity of the universe. But she also makes sure that she gives credit to the to the creator of that universe and said, "Hey, do me a favor, please support the official release of this universe." So, as far as copyright infringement, there's very little risk of copyright infringement because
Acknowledge.
in most cases, these characters, like especially when we talk about like video games and anime and also other types of medium, like other types of mediums. These are mostly fictional characters. So these are created from these people who created these characters. My preference is always going to be this is a fictional story, not in that universe's continuity. But I'm also going to preface, hey, do me a favor by supporting the official release of this universe, and that gives credit to the person who created it, who created the universe. But it also gives, for me, it's like from the way I look at it and from what I've read it, it's an homage to the universe. It's showing respect to the universe. And I think as all of us as writers, when we create characters or when we create these stories, we create these with great care, and we try to give respect to the universe that we're creating, or the mood that we're trying to set for the reader to anticipate. So I think for me, fan fiction is more showing homage to a universe than it is copyright infringement. But again, you have to be careful about that, because you do want to give respect to the universe you're creating a story in.
That's good. Thank you. Thank you, Frederick. So we learned a new term today, fan fiction. Another way of writing. And I think the biggest thing is when we write, we often will mention something that we saw, and we'll say where it was and whose it was. And we make sure that we give credit. And of course, we're going to do our due diligence and research to see if there's anything else that we need to recognize for that particular person, their business, or whatever in the process of what we are creating. But I think that's pretty interesting. I don't think my mind is that creative, but I think it's very interesting.
And,
But then I didn't think I could write a novella either. So, okay. Go ahead, Miss Anna.
I was going to ask if acknowledging this on the copyright page, if the piece is being published, or either on the acknowledgement page. Again, I'm thinking about the fact that the books that I wrote were inspired by two movies I had seen. And the end of my book is almost the same ending as one of the movies. And I do acknowledge that in the, say, acknowledgments page, and want to know from Dr. Melvise and Frederick, would that suffice to assure the audience that we are not pretending that we're doing something original, but we have been inspired by something else?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, I like the approach to it. I mean, if you think about it, everything that we create or we write, it's inspired by something, whether it's an event in our lives, whether it's something we may have seen like on YouTube or TikTok or whatever, or whatever, or how wherever we view it. Where I think a lot of our writing is inspired what we see, what we hear, and what we feel. And I think for the way that you put it there, because you were inspired by a specific thing, and you put that disclaimer there, that lets the audience know that even though this is something that's similar, it was inspired by the same event. And even though it turns out even though it looks like the same event, it's inspired by that event. But even in what you did, like the ending that you're talking about in your book, is it the same ending as what you watched, or is there a variation of it?
It's a variation of it, but anyone who knows the movie will recognize the similarities. And so I didn't want anyone to think I was copying. I want them to know I was inspired by what I saw in this movie. And so I use a version of that, not the same words, not even the same setting, but the same rationale was used in my book that I saw in the movie.
I
Well, I
get
really
that.
like, I'm thinking like, how many endings are there to movies when you think about it? Like you watch this whole movie and you say, I knew that that was going to happen. Like that would be an ending for that movie. Some endings are just endings, you know,
Mhm.
but I think we just have to make sure we give credit where credit is due. That's all.
Mhm.
Yep. And by saying that what you just said, you're giving homage to the source material that you were inspired from.
Mhm.
You know, a lot of people look at giving homage to something as, and I've heard this a couple of times in certain spaces that, well, if you give homage to something, then it's still copyright infringement. No, it's not. If you're giving homage to something, you're showing respect to the material, but you're putting your own spin on it.
Mhm.
You're putting your own flavor into it. You know, I don't see anything wrong with giving homage to a person that you were inspired by, or a movie that you were inspired by. I don't see a problem with that. You know, especially when you're putting your own spin on it in your own way and how you express it. You know, too many people look at that as saying, well, you still you're taking something from somebody else. No, I'm using that as my inspiration to create something completely different.
Hmm. And I think it's just making sure that we say, I was inspired by this. I was inspired by that. I think that's where people wind up having all these legal issues because they just say, I'm just going to do it. And somebody said, that sounds like, that looked like. And then they're trying to say, well, no, it's not. But everybody looking at it and listening saying, yeah, it is. And then you're like, now you got a problem. Instead of just taking the time to give credit where it's due.
Yeah, but also the other thing is also research the universe I mean, if you're doing something that's outside of that, make sure you just research the universe that you're going to write something in. You know, do your
Yes.
research. You know you know, where does this lie, and where you're gonna base it at. Like the universe has several seasons, where are you gonna put that at? Is it gonna be the
Mm-hmm.
first season? Is it gonna be the second season, or is it gonna be the last season? And again, it is showing respect to the content and the creator. You know, at the end of the day, you know, this is if you're writing something like that, and again, we're all inspired by something.
Mhm.
And whether it's a movie, whether it's a TV show, whether it's something that we saw on YouTube, or even something that we saw that we witnessed outside when we touch grass. You know, it's always about giving homage to what it is that we've seen or that we've experienced, and giving that the respect that we know we can that we as creatives can give it. We know we can give it.
Dr. Melvise, are there any legal issues that we should be taking into consideration in this discussion?
Well, I believe it sounds like it would be similar to like if you are citing a resource. So it seems like if you, as long as you acknowledge in writing that it was inspired by, that should be sufficient. Just like equivalent to if you were quoting, citing a source for facts that you would use it in a nonfiction book. I'm just not sure. I would imagine I'm not sure if, let's say, going back to Batman as an example, if I wanted to write a fiction story based in Gotham City, right? So I believe it was Marvel that created Batman. I'm not sure, but they created the character, but they also
DC.
created Gotham City, right? So can I write a story that takes place in Gotham City, which is a fictional location that was created by somebody else without their permission, with acknowledging that I was inspired by the Batman series to write a story that takes place in Gotham City. Now, I'm not using any of the characters from the Batman story, but I am using that universe. Do you need permission? I'm not sure. I will have to do some more research on that.
Well, it could be the sister city or the brother city to Gotham. And you're creating a new city. And you know Gotham, you're creating a new city. So I think there's a lot of creativity I hear that can go along with this. Well, listen, everybody, this has been really, really great. But we have to stop because we have met our time today and we want to be faithful to it. But Frederick, thank you so much for coming in and sharing what you are doing. I appreciate it. Miss Anna Roseborough, Anna's Coach Up podcast. Check her out. She's doing a lot of great stuff this summer, keeping them on stream. Yes, for our young people. And then, of course, their parents and guardians can help them in the process. Written Word Publishing. I do want to ask us continued prayer for Melvise and her mom in this season with everything that's going on. And he said fan fiction falls under fair use. Thank you, Frederick. So thank you, everybody. I like to end by saying we are blessed to be a blessing. And if you serve King Jesus like I do, then you are to be the visible manifestation of his invisible presence. All right. Catch you all later. Bye-bye.